Hi, I'm Christina Steele.
And I'm Annie Sweeney.
And we are bringing you our new podcast, Holy Banter.
Yes, we are.
Hi, I'm Christina Steele.
And I'm Annie Sweeney.
And we're bringing you our new podcast, Holy Banter. Hi, I'm Christina Steele.
And I'm Annie Sweeney.
Welcome to our new podcast, Holy Banter.
Holy Banter is a podcast, a fun opportunity for us to start a conversation, as well as inform you about opportunities that are going to be happening in our parish community.
One of the things we'd like to highlight is your story, your testimony about things that God has done in your life as well. So if you're interested in joining us for an interview, please reach out to Holy Banter.
Thank you. Right there, and then the glare, perfect. And the glare from the window isn't so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, you could.
It wouldn't work.
Okay.
It doesn't work. No.
That's perfect. That's great. We're ready.
We're falling apart. This was the original record.
You're right.
So
You're right.
it would have been price of the
Yeah, it's the first. It was the first
60s.
record. No. 70s.
So it definitely smells like the 70s.
It's
You know, has that like mildew? My grandparents' house used to have.
Old potatoes. Do you have any questions before we get started?
What do you guys want to talk about?
Just so it's just really going to be about just chit chatting.
We wanted to just like get to know you, but also show like who you are, you know,
personality
to the people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
sure.
maybe ask you some random questions that pop into our head.
Okay. So I'll just introduce and say we have Father Travis here with us today as our pastor, and we're going to get to know Father a little bit better. So tomorrow's your birthday.
Oh, yes. I'm 43.
43, still a baby. So what are you doing for your birthday?
I haven't even thought about it, to be honest. Actually, you know what? Somebody invited me to a first communion party, so I'll go to that.
Oh,
In the evening.
So sweet of you.
Yeah, I just remembered that now that you asked.
I'm surprised your mom's not doing it.
Oh, well, we'll do something
Mhm.
next week, perhaps, or the week after.
Okay.
See.
Where does your mom live?
Farmland, Indiana.
Okay.
Hmm.
Not far?
It's an hour and a half.
Okay.
I mean, it's
On the farm. And Father has a twin. Did you know that?
Get out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Are you guys pretty identical?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Have you
What's
seen him?
Yeah. I met him once.
And what does he do?
He's a professor of business,
Okay.
and he's a chair of his department.
In New York. And then his other brother's a
Upstate New York.
psychiatrist.
Yeah, he's a psychiatrist.
You're all very smart.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my brother Kyle's business, like he has two jobs. He has a part-time job, works in an eating disorder clinic, and unfortunately it burned to the ground on Sunday.
What's
Easter
that?
Sunday. They said it was like an electrical fire.
Oh my God. That's shocking.
So he doesn't have a part-time job now, so he's gonna have to start looking
Just
for
his full-time
something else to do.
Why do you and your brothers like having 1.5 jobs?
That's a great question. It's my mom. She grew up on a farm, and work was like the number one value in life.
So no free time.
Yeah.
So in farmland, where does one go to elementary, middle?
Oh, well, I didn't grow up in farmland. I grew up
Okay.
in Yorktown. So that's a suburb of Muncie. So it's a little bit, as far as Muncie is concerned, it's kind of one of the more affluent areas in Muncie. It's actually a lot like Zionsville is in Indianapolis
Okay.
in some ways. So yeah, that's where I actually grew up. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell her what you did growing up.
Civil War reenacting. Yeah, I know. My brothers and I got into that because our neighbor was doing it. So they invited us.
Where?
Yeah, all over the country. Yeah.
Yeah, all over the country.
It was, if they had a national event, you would go to the actual location where a battle happened. So like, for example, Shiloh or Gettysburg.
You had to come with your own stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't buy that stuff for you. You buy it yourself. It was a very expensive hobby, I would say.
Oh my gosh. So up until how long did you do that hobby?
Okay, so Civil War reenacting, one of the things that I enjoy about it, probably more than the reading, is like working on building log cabins. So we built a village in Hartford City that was adjacent to the town of Hartford City. And this we used as a location for a reenactment every year. So I enjoyed that work a lot more than actually being a soldier or impersonating a soldier.
The building of
The
stuff?
building stuff, yeah. I mean, as a young person, to be able to apply your skills and to develop skills of building things like that was a lot of fun. Because we built not only the buildings, but we also built the furniture as well.
That's amazing.
So, I mean, obviously you've gone to Conner Prairie once or twice.
Yeah.
What do you think about that place?
Yeah, we did some reenactments there.
Okay.
Yeah, Conner Prairie, when I was still doing reenacting, started a Civil War wing.
They do have one.
So
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
yeah,
Have
so
you been
we did
there?
some reenacting there.
Where they have like the fake smoke and where the railroad is. It's over the covered bridge.
I was there for a field trip,
Okay.
and it's a blur. Yeah. I just recently went to Savannah, Georgia for spring break, and we were on the Georgia Queen, and I wasn't paying attention, I guess. And they said, if you look over here, they are getting ready to fire off a cannon because we were passing a fort that was on the Savannah River. And I thought he was joking, so I'm like, this is funny. And then there it goes, and I almost went overboard.
Yeah.
So the $1 million question for you, for sure, for me personally, but going back to what your brother did and or what your brother does, I guess. So at what point, and people may know this, but I know at what point in your life do you get to that discernment and that stirring?
That's a good question.
Well, I mean, and also what was maybe a runner up?
When I was doing Civil War reenacting, that was like an opportunity to engage in like philosophical and religious debate with friends, because everyone was of a different faith background, including, like, if you consider atheism a faith background, we had atheists there, and there was nothing off the table in terms of discussion.
My father was a Catholic at the time.
No. So having discussions about different topics in Civil War reenacting, believe it or not, kind of led to a discussion at one point on redemptive suffering. And I knew from talking to a friend of mine what the Catholic Church taught about that, which is to say that suffering can have value. And I vehemently defended that position against my friend, who is a Protestant fundamentalist, and argued that suffering really had no value, whether that's their position or not. But that was his position. And I argued that position so well that a friend of mine who was an atheist said, you should become a priest.
Whoa. Was this person being flippant?
I think a little bit, but I mean, it was before
you weren't
I
Catholic.
was ever considering becoming Catholic, but I was defending like a Catholic position. So.
And where did that knowledge come from? If you weren't Catholic,
it was a friend of mine who had talked about that concept.
And that
was Catholic. A friend of mine who was Catholic. Yeah, and it did speak to me. And there's always questions about the meaning of life that we contend with. And I think when we're younger, we contend with that even more.
Yeah.
Or at least we get to a point in our life where we experience suffering that kind of drives us to say, what's the meaning of this suffering, or is there meaning to suffering? There's two responses to that. You could say there's no meaning, it's absurd, which is really an atheistic position, but it's a position of philosophers of the 20th century, existentialists. Or you can argue that there is some meaning in it, and we can find purpose in it, either through our own drive and ambition, which is also part of the existentialist position, or as Christians, we can find meaning in suffering through Christ, because he gives meaning to that suffering. And it's an opportunity for us to carry our own cross and follow Jesus as a disciple.
So is that when you started considering Catholicism?
My brothers, all of us were looking for a home in our faith. And we were considering different denominations. As my twin brother and I were a senior in high school. We were seniors in high school, and we were considering multiple possible denominations. But we went to Mass a couple times and met with the priest, started meeting with the priest on a weekly basis, and learned more about the Catholic faith. And after learning more about the Catholic faith, it was like taking all the pieces of the Christian denominations that we had experienced in other areas of our life and putting them together as a whole. And everything seemed to make sense in the Catholic Church. So that was really the drive, the sense of unity, the sense of truth, and the beauty of it, all making sense in the Catholic Church.
And going back to what you said about kind of finding purpose and meaning in suffering and coming up with either nothing or coming up with something, do you think that we have a God who we can sit and pontificate those questions with and sometimes fall into what is this? What are we doing? What is the purposes of this? Do you think that we are safe as Christians and as Catholics to be able to have that one-on-one conversation with God?
I do, absolutely. And maybe that's something that I was familiar with from a Protestant fundamentalist traditional perspective, which is to have that personal relationship with Jesus. That isn't something that I ever had. And I would encourage Catholics who may struggle with that because it's not emphasized as much, particularly, well, I hope that it's emphasized today, but maybe it's not as emphasized as it could be because we have so many avenues of receiving grace. But the truth is that all of these avenues lead to the person of Christ. And so they should be conduits to a relationship with Jesus, not barriers. They shouldn't stand between us and our personal relationship with Jesus. They should accentuate the relationship that we have with Jesus. They should make it better. They should help us to have a deeper connection with Jesus personally.
Yes,
So
this is true.
Yeah.
Because if you're not turning to that, I don't know where you're turning.
And as far as sharing our sufferings, Jesus knows our sufferings. There isn't any suffering he didn't experience. And the fact that he was sinless, it doesn't diminish. It actually enhances his perception of our suffering. And us sharing our suffering is us inviting Jesus into our suffering. And that's so important that we invite him in because really that's where Christ meets us, is in our suffering. Christ meets us in our weakness. Where we are weak, that's where Jesus steps in and becomes that bridge of strength and grace.
What about those of us who don't have the big struggles like we know other people in?
Everyone has a struggle. Everyone has a cross. I'll talk with you and if you're authentic and true, you'll find the struggle. There's a struggle. Everyone has a struggle. It's our cross. It's the question. What is our cross? And we all have not just one cross, but multiple crosses or multiple contributions that basically constitute our cross. So I think every day and every encounter that we have with other people, it's an invitation to carry our cross or to throw the cross off. And we are called to persevere in carrying the cross.
Do you have a struggle or suffer a cross?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I myself have struggled with depression and anxiety my whole life. And that is a struggle. It's probably family history related. My dad died by suicide in 2018, and I've had other family members die by suicide. So definitely mental illness. All my brothers, also have struggled with that. But to be sure, other struggles as well. Struggles with ego or struggles with self-worth, things like that, You ask why I have a job and a half. What's ever enough? Nothing's ever enough, So I think that's the truth that I struggle like everyone in the world today struggles with different issues, right? So yeah.
Yeah. And so your second job is you teach at Marian because you have your PhD in bioethics.
That's correct. It's a PhD in bioethics, yeah.
It sounds so smart.
But
it's healthcare ethics. It's an emphasis in healthcare.
How many degrees did you get in your undergrad?
5.
Yeah, ask him.
5 majors in my undergrad.
Ask him what he studied.
Yeah, it's never enough. I also love to learn. I absolutely love.
What did you study?
I studied biology, pre-med, philosophy, chemistry, and biochemistry.
Oh my gosh!
So he's either going to be a doctor or a priest.
Yeah.
Okay, was there a runner-up for an occupation or a vocation?
I love to teach, but that is partly related to my love for learning. So and I love philosophy. So I think I chose the right, or I heard God's call and I moved in the right direction.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I mean, if I wasn't a priest, maybe I would have been a doctor, but I don't think that I would have just been a doctor. I would have been very interested in the philosophical healthcare ethics realm. I mean, so I probably would have pursued a doctorate in healthcare ethics regardless of what direction I chose, just because I really enjoy philosophy and I enjoy analysis of different healthcare ethics dilemmas, because it's life and death and it's about suffering as well. And how do we find meaning in suffering? How do we understand that? So it's an incredible pursuit.
It's so interesting. So how do you keep your interest in that and your, I guess, passion or hobby in that kind of alive? You read a lot of different books. Do you attend different types of seminars? Or are you part of something outside?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I do go to some conferences. Mainly I teach. In teaching, you're constantly learning. So when you teach, you have to keep up with the literature, and then it's an opportunity to present the material, and then students bring you questions and they look at things in a way that you never thought about looking at before. And for me, one of the best parts of being able to teach bioethics at Marion is that I bring in all these great speakers to my class, and they are the real experts in the field. And the thing about bioethics is that it is a concrete field. It's applied philosophy, and it's constantly evolving. And the way that you get better at it is by actually practicing it and actually knowing it. So it's a constantly evolving field. And that's kind of neat because it keeps you attentive, right?
Sure.
You don't get bored with it.
Sure. It sounds like you can't be bored.
I don't think so, right?
Right.
I don't think you can get bored with that as such, yeah.
That's good. We can't have him be bored.
No.
Oh, me? No, I don't get bored.
No.
Never. I'm never bored.
Well, okay, let's say that you have, you take vacations. I'm sorry, what are they called?
Vacations. I'm away. I don't know.
A sabbatical.
Yeah.
Is that longer than a vacation?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That would be
Okay,
fun.
so if you were to take a vacation, not be this guy for a while,
Yeah.
what are you going to go do?
He's done quite a lot. Do you know the travel extensive? He's been on every continent.
Obviously,
Yeah.
I do not know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love to travel. I've been to 59 countries now, all 7 continents.
Oh my gosh.
You went to Antarctica last year?
And just as a visitor, a tourist, or also
I guess in some
as a
ways,
missionary or a priest?
I love to learn. Learning, part of my desire to learn is to see different cultures and experience different cultures. So that's my drive to travel, see different places, different cultures, experience different natural phenomena as well. So this summer, I'm going to the Galapagos Islands in Machu Picchu in July, and we're also leading a pilgrimage, Deacon Tim and I.
Yeah. Italy.
Yeah.
Right?
In October.
We still have room on that pilgrimage.
Will this be like the first time you've gone to Italy?
No.
Probably the 6th or 7th. So this is old hat for you.
I went to Italy in January.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I was just there.
But, we're going to Milan. I've never been to Milan, so it'll be nice to see a side of Italy that I've not seen yet. I always try to see something different when I travel. I don't generally like to go to the same place because I like to see something new and different, something I haven't seen before.
I could talk to somebody who's traveled abroad. I could talk to them all day long. So I promise not to wear you out on this. But as far as kind of most unique environment or experiences, what comes to mind?
The most remote experience is definitely Antarctica. When you get there, you have to cross the Drake Passage. It takes about 5 days because you have to fly. It takes 2.5 days to fly to Ushuaia in Argentina because you can't take a direct flight to Ushuaia. You have to fly to Buenos Aires, and then you have to take a completely different airline to get to Ushuaia. So that takes about 2.5 days. Then you get on a boat and you travel across the Drake Passage for about 2.5 days. And then you're finally in Antarctica, and you realize that if you're ever going to go back, you got to go do that whole thing again.
Well, the Drake Passage is really dangerous.
That's your first thought once you land in Antarctica.
Well,
I think that way because I unfortunately had to do that whole part once already. We went the first time.
Now, who's we?
My brother and I.
Okay.
And he didn't go the second time after going the first time, but we went the whole way. We got to Antarctica, but we never stepped foot on Antarctica because somebody on the boat got injured. They had a pneumothorax. They punctured a lung falling in the shower.
but tell her why she fell in the shower.
Because it was so rough in the Drake Passage.
Really
she
rough.
Fell. And we had to turn the whole boat around to take her back. Yeah, we went 2 days through the Drake. We turned around and went all the way 2 days through the Drake again. It was 4 days of hell.
Because
Just
it's
up,
rough.
the roughest seas in the world. It's the roughest seas in the
And
world.
you're on a huge ship or just relatively smaller?
No, a small ship. A ship that was 298 feet long and pretty narrow. It was an old NOAA oceanographic ship. No stabilizers, nothing to
Wow,
compensate.
This was your second time.
That was the first time.
That's the first time. So then they get everyone a voucher to go again,
Okay.
if you dare.
It's up to you.
But the one thing was, I thought the first time we went was one of the first expeditions out. And I thought that's why the Drake was rough. So I'm going to go in January. So we waited a whole year and a half to go in January, which is the best time to go because it's like the peak of summer. The weather's perfect.
Okay.
Supposedly. Well, the Drake was just as rough. But we did. We made it to the continent. No one got hurt. Thank God. Well, at least not seriously enough that we had to turn back. And then I got to actually see the penguins. Beautiful sky. It was wonderful. The weather was incredible. Wildlife was amazing. Penguins, whales, all kinds of amazing things. So it was amazing. But having done it once already, it was like, oh, can I do this again? And if I don't make it this time, am I going to try again? Those were the thoughts that I was having in myself. And I'm like, okay, we're just going to do this.
So with your birthday tomorrow, and it's not it's not 40 or 45 or 50,
Right.
but like, do you kind of think ahead for the year ahead of something bigger to do? I mean, you obviously
Yeah,
had
sure.
a couple trips, but
yeah, I don't know if I'm an ambitious person or just kind of a driven person. I like to have goals. And so for me, goals can be manifest in different ways. Certainly in our own parish, we have a feasibility study that we're looking at. But in terms of myself, I always like to teach a new class. That's something because I learn different things. I love reading different books. And then, of course, as you know, travel. So going somewhere I haven't been.
And how was Lent for you? And then I want to separate it and ask how Holy Week was for you. But how was your Lent?
Lent is always difficult for priests and you have to be really intentional about making it prayerful because it's so easy to get bogged down by all the different things that are going on. And what I would say is that you have to plan for the chaos of Lent.
Very chaotic when you work at a church.
Okay.
Because they have all the penance services and confessions are to do.
And does that come down from Lafayette? Where does
No. Yeah, we try to help priests out in the local area.
Okay.
So with the penance services and things like that. And so Holy Week this year I thought was incredible.
Yes. And you have Holy Thursday, you had Good Friday.
Well, I think Saturday Vigil. In my mind, Holy Week really begins with Palm Sunday.
Palm Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Easter Sunday. They're all different to you. They're all what is it like to go through this kind of vast movement of masses and vigils and
okay, that's a great question. As a priest, is it a busy time? It's a busy time. But actually, in some ways, well, at least I'll say this for myself. My classes are usually less busy. I only had one of my classes during Holy Week. Part of that is because a lot of my students are gone. Part of it is because we had Chrism Mass on Tuesday and I couldn't go to class. We couldn't have class. So that's less busy. Other things are less busy as well.
We try to shut down things at the church the week of Holy Week.
But then, of course, you have the liturgy schedule. And so the thing about the liturgy schedule is that you only do it once a year. So when you only do it once a year, you have to plan because you don't remember how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, at least I do.
Okay. There's lots of pre-meetings to remind yourselves of what you're doing. Yeah.
Right. So I've done Holy Week as a priest. This is my 12th time.
Okay.
So
get any easier, a little more familiar?
It gets easier. Yes, it gets easier and it gets more familiar.
I have to say we have one of the most beautiful Holy Weeks.
The Saturday Vigil is off the chain.
That's the thing. You have to plan for rest to prepare yourself because I don't know how to describe it, but a priest exudes a lot of energy if he's doing liturgy right. And I would say, comparably speaking, 1 hour of liturgy is like 3 hours of regular work. So 3 hours of Easter Vigil is like 9 hours of work. I don't know. It's kind of
I understand. I completely understand. So
for that, you have to stay up later and later every day to get ready for the Easter Vigil because you're going to be up until, I didn't get done until 11:30 because we have four validations to do. Yeah. And of course, it takes me time to calm down.
Yeah, I didn't get to bed till 2.
Yes.
I don't want to diminish it. You're an entertainer. You're on stage. And I was a singer and I was on stage and it takes a long time to come.
Yeah.
So please go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. So you understand perfectly. And that's exactly the way it is.
But I like how you said if you're doing it the right way, which means if you're shining your light, if you're really giving and you're making eye contact and you're making sure that you are connecting with the people. That is so very important.
Yeah.
Well, and there's so many moving parts. So you're also having to remember, like, you guys don't see, like, he's looking at Lauren's looking at me. We're all trying to, like, time things so it doesn't.
And if the servers don't know what to do,
Yeah.
they go to me.
It's beautiful. So thank you for that. Thank you for what you and Deacon did and for all of your hard work. I know sometimes it probably feels like work and you're tired, but we do see you.
Yeah, thank you.
Give it all you got.
Yeah, we do. I think that it was much easier this year in some ways because we spread out who was in charge of preaching.
Okay.
Father Dave did Holy Thursday, Deacon Tim did Good Friday. So in some ways it was not difficult in that regard.
And you preach at 10:30?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard your homily about your cats eating the Easter bunny.
They brought an Easter bunny.
Can we please talk about
Yeah.
I'm sorry for all those kids that they eat the Easter bunny.
They brought an Easter bunny, not the Easter bunny.
They're so proud of that.
I asked the kids to begin with, did they get anything for Easter? And did they get a bunny? Of course, they're probably thinking of chocolate bunny or stuffed rabbit bunny, but my cats brought me a bunny. And
I wish you'd come to our house because we have a bunny we desperately want to get rid of.
I don't know how the cats got a bunny, but it somehow got into the enclosure of the rectory. It must have burrowed under the cat fence. And the cats, I heard them hunting the rabbit outside on Friday night, Saturday morning, and I went out to call them in, and they weren't coming, but I could hear a scream, and I knew that they were hunting around.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I went ahead and went to bed. I got up at 4 a.m.
I just left him alone.
I go into the living room and step on it. It was right in the middle of the floor.
It's disgusting.
But then I turn around and I go back to my room, and there it is. There's the rabbit. They've eaten half the rabbit, and it's just, the rest of it's just sitting there.
It's so gross.
And then I went.
Then you have to clean this up?
Well, I went to bed. I got up the next morning. I went in there, and they'd eaten everything except the entrails. There's one little leg.
You let them gnaw on it over the night.
Yeah.
So do you even feed them cat food?
They didn't eat any that day.
I did not know you could just let them go ahead and just eat their fill.
Yeah, so I just picked it up and what was left and took it outside.
Okay.
It's a good thing you replaced the floor with vinyl flooring or hardwood floor instead of carpet. Can you
much
imagine?
easier to keep clean.
When did you know that you were a cat guy?
Oh, I mean,
But see,
I've always loved cats. I always had cats.
it's almost like, because cat lovers, they're like these cute little cat lady. His are like borderline lions.
I've always
felt like they're
people
eating animals.
Who understand cats are people with some superior intelligence because they don't need to necessarily be like, they don't need attention from their animals.
Yeah.
Or they don't need like their animals to need them.
Well, that's true, yeah.
And so I've always felt like people who like and understand cats are just, they're a little on a higher level. Would you agree this is true?
I would say that cats are much more like human beings than dogs. You have to earn the affection of a cat.
Correct.
Yeah, and every cat has a different personality as well. You have to woo a cat. You have to earn the cat's affection. You will not just receive the cat's affection automatically. If the cat gives you affection, it's because the cat actually likes you.
Aww.
So they're authentic. They're real.
True. This is real. And you have had how many cats in kind of your life cycle here?
I couldn't even think.
Do you always have two?
No. I mean,
do you rescue them?
Well, these two cats came from my farm, so they're not really rescue, but they are barn cats in a sense, yeah.
They've brought in bats. What other animals?
You said they're lions.
What else have they brought in?
Flying squirrels, regular squirrels too.
Yeah.
Chipmunks. There are no more chipmunks.
That's nice. See, we need to get an outdoor cat.
Father O'Keefe had such a problem with chipmunks before I got there, and I haven't seen a chipmunk in years.
So, and then you also like to garden.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
But do you still have the bird feeders up? Because that doesn't seem fair if you have your cat up.
No, I don't. It's only because I'm a little bit too lazy to put feed in.
You sound lazy.
Yeah, but I also agree with you. It would not be. That's like It's like setting up a baby.
That's true. That's true.
I didn't think of it that way, but yeah.
But see, have you seen the fence around his yard? It almost was like barbed wire to keep them in. But then does that keep, it probably keeps like other animals like raccoons and stuff out of it.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it keeps everyone out.
Yeah. So what's on your docket today? Today is Friday. Mass is done. What's on your docket today?
I have to sign checks. I have to do some
You got that 20 you owe me?
if I owe you something, yeah, we'll be signing the checks today. And then I'll do some prep work. Yeah, we got to get ready for the weekend. We've got First Communion this weekend.
That's right.
Right. Some funeral prep will be going on today as well. And yesterday was a really busy day because I had 2 classes and then had a men's group meeting at the rectory. So so today I'll be a little more rested. Yeah, every day isn't the same. Every day is different, and some days are more restful than other days. So today I'll be a little bit more restful.
That's great. Just want you to know that I enjoy when you drop a little cat story inside your homilies. They're very funny to me. I think cats are funny. I think when you share those stories, it brings out like this just funny, humorous side of you that, obviously we're not used to, but I like your cat stories. I get jazzed up for those. And when do you take time to work on your homilies? Are they from the heart, their inspiration?
Yeah, homily prep is like, it's always happening. That's the thing. It's like you read the gospel, the readings ahead of time, and then you're constantly reflecting throughout the week. And I would say that homily prep it's less about like instruction, it's more about listening. So when I say that, you're observing the world around you and looking for connections. So that's
wonderful.
Well, I have a question because, the Pope just died on Monday.
That's a surprise.
Yeah, because I know.
On Easter Monday.
So just thoughts on that and kind of you might not have even been reading, but just all the speculations of coming up with the conclave and everything.
Pope Francis was very well liked by people, and it was different than his predecessors in so far as he had a greater focus on preferential option for the poor, social justice matters, even focusing on our responsibility for taking care of the environment. And so it was almost like a shift in emphasis in the church. And, in many ways that is good because it challenges people to live their Christian faith in a different way than what they're otherwise used to. So it will be interesting to see who the cardinals elect under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit.
Does it have to be one of the cardinals who are?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay. It could be, they tell me it can be any celibate man in the world. So I don't know.
You don't think it'll be you?
No, but historically, no. I would not. And they wouldn't ask me, so.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating because, you're right. I mean, Pope Benedict and Pope John Paul were kind of the intellectual giants that, intellectual tradition of the church. And then Francis was almost like putting it into action. Yeah. So that contrast. So kind of where will we land next will be interesting.
It will be very interesting, I think. And I do believe that where the new Pope leads is where the Holy Spirit is telling us.
Well, and that was one of the things I thought was beautiful about the conclave is it's like, of course there's going to be, we're human, there's going to be the behind the scenes discussions and political whatever, but at the end of the day, they're all praying. We all believe the Holy Spirit and that God's in control and that he's guiding the choice and that person is going to be blessed by God and guided by the Spirit. So, even though human beings are electing, that you have to believe that. Catholics.
And what that looks like, it's not like there's a little bird on his shoulder whispering in his ear saying, this is what I need to do.
Yeah, exactly.
The Holy Spirit works in a more mysterious way. Works through our humanity.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
It's been so fun. Thank you.
Yeah. If you would like to hear more or catch up on a podcast that you haven't yet seen, please check out Holy Banter on Spotify or YouTube.